Hello everyone, I am your host, Nick the Duke of Hobbies, and also Jake Penucks from Triple P's Around the Board, the player debate show where the tough questions are asked and the responses are judged. For 2 10-minute rounds, players respond to specific questions. They will get points awarded or removed by your host. Players can also be muted to give other players a chance to respond. There will be 1 bonus round of question between the rounds for additional points. Winning player will get 1 free minute rant period to talk about whatever they want. With the rules established, let's meet today's players and go around the board. And today, we have Zach Lesage, Gyrosean, Dan, Count the Money on Onderko, and Slowpoke Well himself, Shy. All right.
It's Shay, by the way, but...
Shay, oh, sorry.
That's okay, don't worry.
But okay, with everyone here, and Jake is now joining us as a host. Let's get right into this with topic number 1, and we'll hit start. Oh, I lost the screen. There we go. We'll start with Sean. You were last to join us, so you start us off here now. It's Urshifu Single Strike or Urshifu Rapid Strike.
So, man, I think in the initial release, I'm going to have to go Urshifu Single Strike. I actually played some practice games with a Rapid Strike deck against another deck that is Psychic, which obviously it's weak to Psychic, and everyone will tell you, oh, well, Jirachi GX, right? You can play Jirachi, and that's fair. But in those games, what we realize is against Psychic, it takes you so long with the Rapid Strike deck to build up the damage and the prizes. And if they can take a turn to just knock out that Jirachi GX, then all of a sudden you're open to getting 1 shot for 3 prizes every turn after. So basically, when we played the practice round, we played 5 rounds, and the somewhat rogue, random Psychic deck beat Rapid Strike Urshifu at 05. It cleared it off the board. So I think initially, Rapid Strike, the numbers are awkward enough that I don't think it's gonna be better. I think Single Strike will just do more cleanup more quickly in a format that we have right now.
Slowpoke, I see you on your head. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, okay, right. This Single Strike versus Multi Strike. I'm actually a quick skit on this, and I looked at Multi Strike the first time and looked right. So this thing is 150, right? That's not good. That's not a 2-shot. Okay, so now you damage modifiers first of all, right? And the 120 bench snipe is nice, but what is 120? That's not really doing too much. So if you're not playing dojos, how are you getting this extra damage around? I don't know. It just seems like the numbers are just too small for me to confidently want to play it. Now, Single Strike in the hand, let me tell you, that guy can just clean the board up easy peasy. Let me tell you, everyone's like, oh, 4 energy. Let's just get 2 Houndooms in a row. Boom. See you later. You're rejected. Let's keep it moving. I actually played Joe from Omnipoke, Rapid Strike versus Single Strike, and that Rapid Strike couldn't even come close. Not being able to 2-shot a VMAX is absolutely diabolical, and I don't see why people are hyping it, not gonna lie.
Wow. Well, Zach, what's your thoughts on this then too? Because I saw you shaking a little bit. What's that?
Oh, me? I guess so. I don't know. It's one of those things where I think Single Strike is kind of like the spiritual reprint of Reshiram and Charizard GX. If you think about how the stage attacks go, where you have a low tier attack, you have that gigantic discard everything last win attack. But I really like how there's that outrage with the scroll and the fact that you can kind of build everything up in between it with even the energy acceleration. I like that there's a lot of people compare it to Eternatus, that it's very linear and stuff like that. But I think there's layers of depth with outrage and Houndoom and energy acceleration that I think is just clearly the best one. Rapid Strike, there's almost no discussion after we just discussed Single Strike at that point. So Rapid Strike, will we eventually see a card that gets printed that makes it significantly better, where double your damage or a telescope VMAX, whatever? You know what I'm saying? It's one of those things where I feel as the Rapid Strike and Single Strike mechanic continuously grows, it's something that we could see. But right now, I think Single Strike, no question.
Dan, are you on the Single Strike team or are you on Rapid Strike?
I really like Single Strike. I've proxied it out. It's good. I'm going to say this. I think Rapid Strike is better. I think that all you content creators out there haven't figured it out yet. I've noticed on YouTube, there's about 6 Single Strike deck profile videos for every 1 Rapid Strike video. And I will say this. Dragapult in the Rebel Clash era before was arguably the best deck in format. it didn't have a high damage output. It hit 130. Inteleon was really strong before Pikarom came back, and it doesn't have a massive high damage output, but that spread and that multiple hit is really, really strong. And I think the tools, like the Houndooms are really strong with single strike, getting things moving, but you've got the fan where you can discard energy, the Octillery where you can always kind of just pull a supporter out of your rear end with Octillery. There's just a lot more tricks and there's a lot more to it. So I think Rapid Strike is going to be the better deck. I just don't think we figured it out yet.
Oh, okay. Shay, I saw it with the how about you go respond to that?
I know the problem with the Dragapult is, right, like you're attaching one per turn now for Dragapult. Single strike can still just eject that, number one. And number two, like, you know, you can just play Jirachi. I don't know. I feel as if combining two subpar attackers now into one deck, in my opinion, isn't going to sway it. At least in my opinion. I just wish that, like, I feel as if people have looked at this card and gone all the way back to like Zoligoro or Gollies or whatever, the Zoropod or whatever. Mm-hmm. And the thing is, that was a great deck, two-shot deck, similar, had Ace of Rollers, you can heal that. That had the inbuilt seeing 6 cards via trade every turn, right? So you haven't got that with Urshifu. So it's like, you have to like set up multiple stage ones, find your Shovel, which doesn't let you see cards, all this good stuff, but you haven't got this inbuilt consistency of Zoroark just shooting through. So I think it might be a bit of a red herring. But I would say though, as much as I like single strike, I feel as if multi-strike has that sort of, because it's so open-ended, like you might be able to take it like a spread route, right, and play like Ziggy's and Telescopic Sight. Mm-hmm. There's so many different ways you could take it. Maybe no one's just stumbled on that absolute best way yet.
Okay. Sean, how about you?
Yeah, I would say in terms of the Dragapult, the comment there from Dan, I would say that yes, Dragapult was good and it didn't have a lot of damage output, but that existed in Rebel Clash where there wasn't really any other VMAXs being played at the time. So like 130 times 2, 260, a couple of damage pings, and that knocks out everything in format. Whereas now you have E-Turn at 340. You've got, you've got a few VMAX decks, Centiskorts, etc. And so I think with the Rapid Strike, it still has that weird number, but the Pokemon that you're attacking just got bigger in the 9 months since. Yeah, I think that for me is like the big difference. I will agree though that like long term, like the strategy with Rapid Strike does offer you more opportunities to like do something different. Now maybe there's a version where you don't ever worry about the bench snipe until late game and you just escape rope and Cheryl a few turns, right? It's only one attachment. So you like 150, escape rope, Cheryl, like escape rope into another Urshifu VMAX, and maybe you just chain a few of those together and don't even bother with extra energy. That might be the better way in.
Well, I'm surprised no one's actually brought up against Rapid Strike is the Mew. How about the Mew bench block damage one? Zach, can you kind of maybe elaborate on how that might impact Rapid Strike?
I mean, right now, like until the format rotates, obviously Mew's there. I literally tried to film a Kyogre video and I ran into 4 Mews the other day. And it seems like I'm sure we all understand as content creators where like you literally just want to play against like the dumbest or like the most meta decks and stuff like that. And then you're going to get your ass handed to you just like by just stupid, like, oh, I ran into like a Mad Party deck and they wait until the 15-minute mark to drop the Mew. And I'm like, awesome, thanks. That video took me 2 hours, by the way. Don't watch it. It sucks. But it's one of those things where like, when there's hard counters to that, there's no hard counters to doing 270 plus damage when it comes to the single strike. So like, while I do agree that there's a world where the Rapid Strike could be better, I think that it has a lot more obstacles to go over. And that's not to say that it's impossible to go over. I just think that it's one of those things where it's not built equally. Kind of like how Orbeetle, if we looked at Orbeetle 5 years ago, Orbeetle would have been the best VMAX Pokemon. It would have been the best Pokemon card in the game. And nowadays we're looking at a tier 3 deck at best on a good day that can sometimes sneak in a top cut. But I just don't think a lot of these concepts are viable right now. And it's like, Dan, not to call you out on your Inteleon, I don't ever understand a world where Inteleon was good. So like I don't think, not that it was not good, but I'm just trying to say like I don't think it was ever like a tier 1 deck. Like maybe a tier 2 deck at best for like a month. But it's just like I don't think it's a fair comparison, especially to a card that like we're looking at as one of the most hyped archetypes coming out of a set. I don't know. It's not bad by any means. I think we just need to figure it out a little bit more. And it's just one of those things where time can take it.
All right, well, Dan, how about we jump to you real quick because we're at our 2-minute marker, or a little under 2 minutes. What's your response to that, then?
Well, one thing I would say, I guess more, I'll first kind of go on the offensive against single strike. So single strike gets 270. You get the special energies. You can hit 290, 310, right, with the rapid strike energies. So I heard Zach talk about Reshiram, Reshazard, and obviously Eternatus. Those guys hit 270, 300, right? One of the other reasons why I'm dubious about single strike is I think it's harder to get a single strike Urshifu fired up to do that than it is to welder twice or flare starter to a Reshazard and welder, or it is to just fill up your bench with Eternatus and attach twice and start swinging. So that's why I'm not ready to be like Urshifu single strike is about to turn the meta on its head.
Yeah, okay. Slow, your hand's raised. Let's go to you. You got 30 seconds here.
30 seconds, right. I want to count that a little bit. And what I find really good about single strike is you don't have to, as Zach alluded to, you don't have to really get that 4 energy going really fast, right? They hit you, you can ding them with a scroll, right? After that, you can ding them again, take 3 prizes. And all you have to do at that point, my build plays Rose a lot. Once you get that 1 shot on a 3 prizer, that's it, game's over. Just attack twice. That's what you got to do sometimes. Like, double Houndoom Rose, gone. And if you're playing Dojo as well, see you, like, sign the match and keep it moving.
A lot of praise there at the end. Sean, do you have a last second? I'll let, that's going to be the end of the round.
Give him 10 seconds.
All right, 5 seconds. 5 seconds, Sean.
I mean, yeah, I'm all on board with Shay.
Okay. All right. Okay,
Hallelujah.
No, I thought that was very good. I thought you guys had some really good insights into that, and I think there's a lot of legit concerns on both ends there. Just as a scores update for those who are everyone participating today, Sean, you're sitting at 10. Zach, you're sitting at 13. Slow, you're sitting at 11, and Dan, you're sitting at 10. So it's a close game. Zach is currently in first place.
I know the content creators, they get the LeBron, Tom Brady, whatever, you know.
All right, so what we are going to do, though, is we will go to our bonus round for today, and this is going to be a fun one because the question is, from the 3 original starters, whose final evolution is the tallest?
No Google.
All right, so no looking it up. We'll be right back after a quick little pause here. So, hi everyone, thanks for joining us. Before we get back to the episode, we wanted to remind you that Jake and I release a weekly podcast, Pittsburgh Pokemon Podcast. If you enjoy this show or the podcast, please give us a like and subscribe if you want to be on an episode of Around the Board. Check out the Discord link below for more information. You can find a sign-up form there, and we hope to have you on. So without further delay, now back to Around the Board.
Okay.
All right, welcome back. And so, yeah, we're here at our bonus question. Again, that question is from the original 3 starters. So, whose final evolution, so this is Charizard, Blastoise, or Venusaur, is the tallest? All right, so we'll start off with Dan. Who do you think is the tallest?
I feel like this has to be a trick question, but logic to me says Charizard.
Okay. Sean, how about you?
I'm going to go Blastoise.
All right. Slowpoke, what about you?
Trying to think, in the anime intro when they all come find, trying to think which one was taller. I'm gonna say Blastoise.
All right, and Zach.
See, like I thought about this. I'm trying to think about it as logically as possible. So you got Venusaur, and he seems like he's like kind of like a mushroom, and mushrooms are not big. So he's like, unless those like leaves are like all the way pointed up, Home Slice is not the tall one. And I feel like Charizard is like short man syndrome, where he's like very powerful. So I'm gonna go with Blastoise because I'm hoping that those things are like a little extra tall that shoot out the water.
Okay.
Give me Blastoise.
Right. I'm gonna reveal this in order of from smallest to tallest here. Coming in at the smallest height at 5'3" is Blastoise. Coming in at 5'7" is Charizard, and therefore at 6'7", a whole foot taller is Venusaur.
Nope.
Coming in, yeah, he is the tallest. I don't know. That's what Bulbapedia says.
I got wrong too. He gave this question to me beforehand.
Real quick, to get a bonus point, we'll see if we can get anyone with a bonus point though. Out of the Gigamax versions of all 3 of them, who's the tallest? Charizard, Blastoise, or Venusaur? Let's start with you, Zach.
Like I was really hoping you were gonna start with Dan or Sean or something. Okay, you wanna know what? I'm gonna go with I'm gonna go with Venusaur again. I'm just gonna go with it.
Okay,
That sounds
all
like a
right.
trick
How about you,
question.
Dan?
I'm gonna go Venusaur. Doesn't he have like a palm tree shooting out of his back? I don't know.
There's like a weird dome.
Yeah. I'm gonna go Venusaur.
Okay. Sean?
Yeah.
I'm gonna go Zard because I think they realized their mistake.
Okay. And Slow?
Yeah, I was gonna go Charizard as well, just 'cause they wanted to be towering over everyone, right? So
And
I'm
you
gonna go that one.
you two will both be correct. He stands 91
Yes.
feet tall. They did
Nice.
make him the tallest in his Gigamax
Oh,
version.
geez.
So, all right, that was.
And still
I
does
thought
fight for
this was a
300.
fun bonus question. I looked at that and went, "That's a really weird fact." All right, but we're gonna get back to the round now.
Yes.
So Jake, you are taking over for round 2 with
Yeah.
an awesome topic that I think is kind of interesting that we need to be highlighting right now with this Battle Styles coming out. So Jake, take it away.
Okay, so with the addition of the Rusted Sword and, with the Turbozation and the ADP with the Rusted Sword, is Pikarom dead? And I'll kind of further that, is all tag teams kind of dead at this point?
All right.
Let's start with Dan, since he has the lowest amount of points.
Okay, so Pikarom, I would say, is not dead. I'm also assuming we're including Urshifu in the mix. I don't think it's dead. It's definitely not like Guardian dead. Like Guardian died, right? I think at worst it's a tier 2 archetype. Even right now, the last few weeks I've been looking, or the last week or so, with tournaments that include a Rusted Sword, it's still placing well. I know that Urshifu hits it for weakness, but Pikarom can sneak away wins from Excadrill and Donphan and Colossal even with the weakness. So I'm not willing to say it's dead. I think at worst it's a tier 2 that we will still see popping in occasionally, getting top 8s driven.
Okay.
Shay?
Yeah, it's a tough one. I think you'd be silly to ever say Picrom's dead, right? Like, there's been, like, even when it first got printed, Malamar could play a common Onyx, right, and just one-shot it. And it's always been good. I feel as if Picrom now is almost like such a well-rounded Lightning deck with just so many different avenues, right? So you got Full Blitz, you've got Tag Bolt, but it's not, because you don't see that often, but it's still an option, right? You've got late-game Paralysis Raichu. You can even play double like Mewtwo if you're really scared of Urshifu and stuff. So I feel as if the deck itself is so, like, well-rounded. I don't feel as if there's an easy way just to like knock it out of the format unless something bonkers happened, right? So I don't think it's like there's still nothing you can do. Even if you play Urshifu, if they go stamp to 3, hammer, and then you're paralyzed. Like, oh, now what do I do? Like, it doesn't matter like, at that point.
Yeah.
So I'm not betting against Picrom.
Sean?
I lean into what Shay is saying. Like, I don't want to bet against it because everyone bets against it every set, basically. I think that the makeup of it might change significantly because I think a 240 and a 260 HP Mon as like your main attackers is not viable anymore, especially if single strike Urshifu is at least somewhat played. I think that just becomes like a non-starter. But I do think that maybe you pair it with some other lightning attackers, like maybe Bolton comes, maybe Vikavolt comes back a little bit. I don't know. Or Tapu Koko VMAX as like a 180 and paralysis if you're down on prizes. It's kind of a spiritual successor to some degree to the Choo Choo. So I think that it just finds a new partner that lets it survive. I don't think it's tier 1, but I think it survives.
Hey, Zach?
Okay, so I think I know a thing or two about Pikarom here, and I actually recently put out my top 10 deck video for March, and I put Pikarom down from like 1 or 2 down to number 5. So Rusted Sword has definitely pushed it down there and like yeeted it down there, and it could even be lower than that. Now, the one limiting question is where our community is at any given point, and I think like you got to think like a lot of players are not good at Pokemon, and that's just an unfortunate fact. Pikarom's really good at manipulating players and taking advantage of players that don't know how to play against it. So I think Pikarom is the highest skill deck that we have in formats that's viable. Now there's like control decks and stuff like that, but I think Pikarom is definitely the most highest skill deck. So we've always thought that Pikarom could die out before, kind of like even when it lost all its Thunder Mountain Prism Star. I think the fact that Pikarom is not a Pikarom deck makes sure that it's always viable. Will it be tier 1 always? I don't know. It's hard to consider. Like, I don't consider Pikarom tier 1. Is it one of my top considerations for the Players Cup 3 right now? 100%. Even though Eternatus, I think, is an auto loss when I'm playing Eternatus, it's one of those things where crushing hammers and yell grunts when you're playing against someone who does not know how to play to every single out, Pikarom just feels like it's such a deck that can punish people. So I don't think it's like dead. I don't think tag teams are dead. Like ADP is very good still. ADP is better placed than it. I think Mewtwo is also very good. So I don't think tag teams are dead. I don't think Picarom's dead. I don't think Picarom will die until it gets rotated out.
Okay, so actually, let me rephrase it this way. So we're going into Players Cup 3 qualifiers. If you guys were, to pick a deck right now, would Picarom even be the deck you pick? We'll start with Shay.
Me personally, I'm not clever enough to play Peter's Picarom. So for me personally, if I was a good player, yeah, I mean, like I said, it's so what I like about Picarom, I feel, especially now with the hammers as well, I feel as if there's so many different avenues. Like, so let's say you go Bolton, right? Energy on the board. Like, you got so many different ways to go. Like, if your opponent only has like one Pokemon, you can paralyze both. Now, what can you do, right? Or you can, like, if they have a bad start, you can like aggro full blitz active and say, well, I'm taking out the Dene, which you will bench, right? And I just like that there's so many different ways. And like I said, Energy Null, Stamp, Paralysis is just so strong. So if you're clever enough and you know the insides out and you know your game plan through the rounds, like Zach was saying, then feel free to carry on 100%. Yeah, for sure.
Dan?
I probably wouldn't consider it. I'm pretty spooked out by Turbozation being really, really good. And also, I think I like a deck. I mean, this is also just personal preference. Something like Centiskorch that's not going to be... I know Centiskorch isn't consistent, but it doesn't really care about hammers. It doesn't like I need to hit a hammer to survive, to slow down Eternatus or ADP. I want something that I feel like I'm in control of a little bit, and I also just think it's getting a little squishy. I will not be shocked at all if multiple Picaroms make it into the next phase. In fact, I highly anticipate it.
Yeah. Sean?
I would not consider it either. Battle styles, is that going to be legal for Players Cup 3? No.
Not phase 2.
Yeah.
All right, so I think it's a little bit more viable, but to the point of Rusted Sword, right? You got to assume that even if you get a few rounds where you do well, to Zach's point, eventually you'll get to a space where people are good with whatever deck they've picked. Mm-hmm. And I think knowing that Rusted Sword is out there and ADPZ even is potentially better, I feel like you'll get to the good players and then there's just too much against it at that top level, if you will.
Yeah, for sure. And Zach, you want to elaborate a little bit more?
Yeah, I think we're kind of like in a weird rock, paper, this deck beats this deck beats this deck, where at the top decks, Eternatus can beat Picarom, and Picarom can beat Centiskorch, and Centiskorch beats ADP. So it's not even like rock, paper, scissors, it's like rock, paper, scissors, bomb, whatever. So it's one of those things where like, yeah, Picarom's always going to be a consideration. It depends on what like mentality you want to go in there with. Picarom's more of the middle ground approach where it's a deck that can handle a lot of ground. And a lot of the games, you're always in the game. It's not like when you hit Eternatus and you run into a Cole or a Luke Metal deck where you're going to get absolutely bopped. Whereas on the other hand, the only other middle field deck is going to be ADP, although it does suffer a terrible matchup from Centiskorch. Eternatus being one of those decks where it's like, as long as you avoid fighting and as long as you avoid Luke Metal, you should be fair. So yeah, Picarom, it'd be really dumb not to consider it. Like it's clearly one of the best decks that we've ever seen in the game.
Yes.
It just might not be the correct pick for a particular player.
Yeah, for sure. So going along with the other tag teams, are you scared that that the Rusted Sword is going to even just take those kind of out of consideration, like the Charizard Reshis? Because even against fire decks, like the ADP can still just one shot those tag teams easily and not have to worry about weakness, because the price trade-off is actually a little bit better for the Zacian player. So do you want to start there on that, Sean?
Yeah, I mean, I think that tag teams, look, I think Tool Scrapper is a card that if you're really worried about it, people should just play at least one of them, probably, because there is always the thought that, yes, you can wait to put the Rusted Sword on to the Zacian, but I mean, we've all played enough to realize that like the speed of the format doesn't always give you that option to just sit on a hand, right? You're like, no, I need to research because I got to find my water energy or whatever. And so I think that Tool Scrapper does still have viability in a format that's so fast that you can't always make those calculated decisions. Like, it's bad to attach it, but if you don't, that's bad too. So I do think it will start to maybe edge some things out of it. It might create awkward situations, but if tag team players are willing to make space for like a Tool Scrapper and adjust to it, I don't think it's the end of the road.
Okay, Dan.
I know Tool Scrapper seems good, but Tool Scrapper is kind of the same issue as you have with the Rusted Swords. You can't always use it when you need it, and sometimes you need to eject your hand. You got to research. You got to data change. There goes your Tool Scrapper. I think the best bet for playing a tag team is you just got to really keep an eye on your opponent's resources and take a look at where they're at in their deck. What are the likelihood of them hitting it? Unfortunately, we all have had the feeling where it's like, why the heck does ADP always hit exactly what they need every single time? But, you know, like, it's pretty cool, too. Like, recently, like, I know Reshazard, there's not really a Reshazard deck, but it's really seen a comeback in Centiskorch. It's seen a comeback in Persephone or whatever, Blound's Cramorant deck. And I think it'll still be there because typically those decks have, as long as you're not featuring your tag team as your de facto #1 attacker, you can avoid that. Like, Centiskorch isn't going to get one hit by ADP unless they hit like just something insane, right? So you can try to avoid that. But Pikarom can kind of struggle because, with the exception of Bolton, you kind of got to throw tag teams out there to attack.
Oh, and Shay, how about you?
Yeah, for the last 30 seconds.
I feel as if I don't know, like ADP's always had options to like reach into tag teams, right? Via Leon, or I'd argue that even Zigzagoon is by far easier. I've always been a Zigzagoon in my ADP. So I feel as if those slots just become Rusted Sword, I mean, I don't feel as if tag teams get affected that much, in my opinion. Like, most of the tag teams are super situational anyway. Like, ADP, once it's GX, like, most of the time, I say you can just forget about it, right? Eggroll, for example, once it's done its attack, most of the time you can, you know, see it later. So I'm not really too scared as a tag team player, because ADP's always had those outs, but maybe you could argue that now a higher percentage of ADP players will have that outs in their deck, because I know I was, and I know not a lot of people played Ziggy in their ADP, but I always did. So maybe, I don't know. I feel as if, like Dan was saying, if you don't, like, against ADP, just throw your tags on, say, yeah, go on, kill me, you should be all right. So,
all right, well, that's going to be the end of the round there. And with bonus points added in, because I almost forgot to put those actually in here, and it was a really close game. All right, I know you guys can't see the score, but coming in tied for last, actually, here is Sean and Dan at 22 points. Actually, Zach, you did come in last. Sorry, I switched that. At 21 points, then Sean and Dan, and then Slowpoke at the last second there, with that Charizard bonus point, just snapped you ahead of because it would have been a 3-way tie. So, great job, everyone. I thought that was a good discussion there. So, the future is open for Pikarom, I think. And, I think there's a lot of good highlighted points here. But, Slow, you get a whole minute to rant on whatever you want, starting now.
Oh, I didn't even think about like a victory speak per se. But what I'll do, here's a thought I want to throw out to people. I know a lot of people have been saying that format's rubbish and no one's enjoying playing. And I'd argue that this format probably isn't the greatest, right? But what I'd like to say is the format really that bad? Or is it a fact that we're all sitting here in our rooms playing Pokemon on our own? Because what I'm thinking, like, if you was at a League Cup, you have a bum round, what do you go do? Chat to your mates, go get a Mars bar, happy days. But now if you're a bad round, what do you do? Look at your 4 rules and curse yourself. So I have a sneaky feeling that the format isn't as bad as people say it is. More so, we're just all in isolation. Hopefully, fingers crossed, everywhere else we can carry on like the New Zealand, Australia area. We can get our IRL play back, and we want to have happy, fun times playing Pokemon again with Single Strike Earthsproof. That's the best one.
You got 10 seconds left.
10 seconds. Oh, and go subscribe to the Slowpoke and all that good stuff, yeah?
Oh, right. Well, that's why I just wanted to thank everyone for coming back on today. And, I hope you guys had a lot of fun, too. Again, thank you, everyone, for watching us today. And thank you to our today's contestants. We got, again, Zach Lesage. Check him out on YouTube. And all of his, again, we'll have links to everyone down below. And then we have Count the Money, Dan, and Gyrosean. And then again, also today's winner, Slowpoke Well himself. If you enjoyed this, we'll be back again here on YouTube and next week with different players, more burning questions, and another time to go around the board. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and take a look at another one of our videos here. Also, if you haven't done so yet, hit subscribe. It goes a long way in helping us grow. Remember, we release a podcast episode once a week on all the major platforms. We also stream every Friday on Twitch and make a Whimsy Watch monthly report. As always, thanks for watching. Triple P out.